Hello everyone and welcome back to Don't Look Back, and we're revisiting Camp Not Crystal Lake. Crystal Ponds, I guess, is the closest we're going to get here. And we're going to replay a scenario from the main rulebook which went too easy the first time we did it, called The Escape. It's the one where you have to look for the car keys because you know a murderer is killing everyone, and escape in a car that's on the opposite end of the board. We're going to change the rules for it ever so slightly, but beyond that, kind of play as normal with the same killer we did last time to try and give not Jason a chance to actually murder. And we're going to be incorporating some characters from the Final Girls expansion for the game, which adds 4 new female characters, and something called the Final Girl Curse, which we'll cover when we look at the killer. Now you can see the models we're using here. We're using this model as our killer, Jason, basically. We're using Seth and Ranger Sandy from the base box here, and these two characters are the 2 new ones. Well, I'll talk about how they were painted in a painting update if you're curious, but this is Dr. Grange, and this, she is called Kat, and she's a skateboarder who apparently believes in aliens, going by what's on her shirt. So they'll be included. They play basically the same as other characters. In terms of special rules, Dr. Grange can help bring down terror on people that are near, and herself if she's in light. And Kat can move extra quick if she does 2 movement actions in 1 turn. That's kind of their special thing. So let's go look at the specifics for the killer. So once again, like last time, our killer is a mutilated killer, which means they're harder to kill. They like doing damage, and also, thanks to one of the traits they have to come with as set by the scenario, they cause bleed, which if you don't clear up constantly deals wounds to you. They also have the whispers, so characters find it harder to do other actions if they're within 6 of the killer, and his MO is just out of sight, so he prioritizes going after whoever has the least terror to show them that there should be a reason to be scared. Oh, and as far as scenario rules go, for the first 3 turns, our survivors all gain 1 terror when they start their turn, because they're supposed to have found a bunch of bodies, so they know something horrible is going on. So just a little bit of base scaredness to work with. So this is the card that comes with the Final Girls expansion. It is the Final Girl Curse. It's an optional rule you can implement. As far as I can tell with the way it's worded, I think you're meant to pick who the Final Girl is when you start the game, and then it comes into effect if they're the last one alive. Going to do it a bit different. If one of the 3 ladies present on the table is the last one alive, they will become the Final Girl and the curse will come into effect. They get a big bonus to their combat skill, to their maximum fright, so they don't die as easily to that, more health, but, and this is why it's a curse, they're not allowed to leave unless the killer dies. So, you know, stereotypical horror movie ending, if it's the final girl, she's got to defeat the killer and then live to tell the tale, at least until the sequel. So that's what we're going to do with the Final Girl Curse if it comes into effect. Seth is here, so there is a possibility that the sole survivor might be a guy, in which case it will not apply. Or they could get out as easily as last time. We're going to see. So here's an overhead look on the map we're playing on today, and the thing we're doing different with Escape this time is that normally what you're supposed to do is have a bunch of investigation markers. You roll on a table, eventually you can find the key, and it becomes easier with each failure as you go. What we're going to do this time though is that there's only 2 investigation tokens, and they're only going to be used to denote these 2 camper buildings here. One of those is going to have the key in it, and they're both locked, so we're going to have to bust down the door to get in. They're single room though, so the first person who goes in does a search action, will roll a d6. If it's a 4, 5 or a 6, they've found the keys. If they haven't found the keys, it's guaranteed to be in whichever cabin they didn't check, but they still have to do a search action once they get there to find the keys. And the escape is the card down here with its lights on. That's the only light source on the map. There is no fright tokens to start with, which means some will be getting generated as soon as the game starts, but they won't activate until turn 2. We generate some terror, which I believe I mentioned. All the heroes start within 6 of the top left corner. They're not fully correctly placed just yet, but with that, I think we're about to get started and spend a lovely sort of evening in Camp Crystal Ponds. So we're ready to start the game, but because there's no fright tokens on the table for the game starting, in the final part of the fright phase, 1 appears in the middle of board sections B and C, and again, imagine it's cut into 4, it's A, B, C, D. So 1 has appeared down here by the pond, and 1 has appeared technically within the cabin, but to show that it's there, it's on top, and it can just pass through. It doesn't matter that there's a door there, but they don't activate this turn. I've preemptively put 1 fright on everybody's card, which I keep calling terror. It's interchangeable, they're synonyms probably. So I've just preemptively put 1 on every one of the cards because for turns 1 to 3 they all generate them, and with that we can skip the killer phase because there's no killer, and we go straight to my first turn. Now hear me out here, I have a plan, and it's going to sound crazy because this is a horror movie type saying, but we're going to split up. Ranger Sandy and Seth are going to go to one cabin and search there, and then there are 2 new heroes on the table, Cat and Dr. Grange. They're going to go to the other cabin and search that, so no matter what we do, in theory, at least 2 people might get out, and 1 set of them will find the keys. So let's move with Cat first. Her base move is 4, but if she double moves in her turn, instead of it going up to 8, she gets 2 extra because of her skateboard. So we're going to give her 10 in total. Let me just double check that it's 2 extra. Yes, it is. So she is very fast relative to most characters in this game. And we're going to come over here, and we're going to have to do a jump scare. Oh, usual stuff for jump scares. Going inside a building will trigger a jump scare. The trees, the big piles of rocks, and the ponds, if they get close enough within 2 inches of them, will trigger jump scares. And on that note, she is now over here, and she's going to get scared by the tree. So we need to get the table here real quick. Jump scare table, D10 roll. What happened to her? Uh-oh. Is that bad? Oh, let's laugh it off. Remove 1 terror point. Speaking of which, because she actually started with terror, did she trip? No. And the 1 terror she had is gone until the start of the next turn. So, Dr. Grange is a little slower. She only moves 4. She doesn't have a skateboard, so she's moving 8. But she's going to keep up with Cat and come roughly to there, outside of 2. Although we've already jump scared that tree this turn anyway. And then real quick, Seth moves us at 3. Oh, right, did she fall over? Did Dr. Grange fall over? Nope. It would need to be a 1. Actually, I think you have to roll under the amount of terror you have, so it would have to be a 0, so right now they can't fall over. Maybe a 1 would do it. We'll consider that a critical fail anyway. Speaking of which, let's move Seth over here, his 6. I'm going to move him there actually, so he doesn't need to do a jump scare, and we'll have Ranger Sandy do it. She moves 4, I believe. Yep, so only Seth is the one that doesn't move 4. So she's going to move towards the cabin directly. She's brave, she's got a gun. And that actually does put her... No, she's probably within 2 of that tree, isn't she? No, actually I don't think she is. She's outside of 2 of the base. The tree is slightly thicker than the base, but not by much. So I'm going to say that's fine. So turn 1, everybody moved. They got a little bit of terror. Oh, did she fall over? Did Seth fall over? Sorry. No. Did she fall over? I did say a 1 would be a critical fail. So actually... Oop, she did her move. Why is it always Ranger Sandy? Those were the only adult on the... Well, no, Dr. Grange is an adult as well. Usually the only adult on the field, and she just keeps on falling over and getting murdered. So, start of battle round 2, it is a... Sorry, turn 2. It's a 6 plus to see if the fright tokens activate on a D10, 6 plus. They do. The furthest one away from anybody, it's about equidistant honestly. The one on the cabin roof, technically, it's supposed to be inside, but that's the one that's closest, furthest rather. So it is 7. It's going to move 6 towards Ranger Sandy, and then the one that's down here, that's a 6, it's the same result, it's going to move 6 towards Cat, right there. But neither of them are going to conjure a killer this turn, so I'll get them moved, and then it's right into my turn again. So let's break my turn into 2 halves. We'll start with Cat and Dr. Grange down here, and they didn't start within 4 of the fright token. They're already within of the tree, or Cat is anyway, so it doesn't matter. She is going to get a jump scare if she goes directly towards the campfire and the rocks in the middle, but I think we're going to risk it because she's fast. She's only got 1 terror on her, because, fright, because it got 1 point removed in the other turn there. Everyone else now has 2 though. This only happens for the first 3 turns, the getting the fright. So she's going to go right there, directly towards the other cabin, and she's going to have to jump scare on the rocks. Let's move Dr. Grange first while we're at it. She's just going to follow as best she can to roughly there. I think she's going to have to jump scare the tree. Yep, she is. Okay, let's get the table. Alright, jump scare for Cat. A 6. That is tap on the shoulder. Place the closest standing character or supporting character within 8. Was Dr. Grange within 8 before she moved? No. No, she wasn't, so that's bad. Let's see. If there's no character within 8, they gain 1 terror. So right back at what everybody else is at. And then the jump scare for Dr. Grange is a 4. Flip all light tokens. Well, I haven't been flipping the token on the car, but it would have been off. And that would have put it back on. So it's fine. So for now, they're okay. So poor Ranger Sandy has to stand up as her first action, and then she's going to move 4. She's got a choice. Does she risk going to the pond and then walking through the pond, which would be difficult terrain? It's not like super deep, but it would slow her down. Or does she just stand next to the fright token and accept that she's going to get some extra fright next turn, which would be 2 because of the debuff that applies on turn 3 as well. Oh, that's a risky one. Oh, I didn't roll for either of the other characters tripping actually, so let's quickly do that where you can see it. This is for Cat. Nope. Dr. Grange. Nope. And Ranger Sandy's only moving once, so she doesn't need to, but she is going to go and face her fear, the fright token. And Seth, the asthmatic, is going to come into your view now and follow. Let's see. Yeah, he's going to go there, and he is going to do a jump scare for the pond. Uh-oh. The character gains 1 terror. We might have to take some quick actions to calm each other down next turn, but for now, they are done. Alright, we're into turn 3. Fright tokens activate on a 5+. I pushed Dr. Grange forward a little bit. Yep, they do activate. The one furthest from anyone is this one here by meters, centimeters. What does it do? 8. That's the move towards, isn't it? No, that is, it's here. Immediately conjure the killer, unless you're using the scenario specific, and replace the fright token with the killer model. Once placed, move the killer using its target rules under its MO. If the killer is already conjured, do something else. The killer is not conjured, but he is now. Jason walked out from behind a tree or something, and now he is here. So he is going to move, but let's quickly roll for the other fright table. So it's a 4, which is, it's already basically in base to base with Ranger Sandy, but just behind this tree up there in the top corner, it is now definitely in base to base with her. So the killer moves according to his MO, and his MO is he wants to hit whoever has the least amount of terror. What does it say you do if it's a draw? Because both of those ladies have exactly the same. In the case of a tie, the player may choose. When the killer moves, all characters that can see it gain 1 point of terror. Thankfully, they're both looking the wrong way, so there is that. But Dr. Grange is about to get stabbed. Well, let's see how far he's moving. That's more than enough. Into stabbing with machete range, right there. So then he does his attacks listed on his card, which is, attack number 1 is various blades. It needs his combat is 15, and that rolled way off, but it was a 15, so that is a hit for 3 injuries, and she is bleeding. So I'll just put those on her card like so. Then he does wild swings. All other characters not hit by the main attack within 2 suffer an injury. Thankfully, Cat is not within range. It does mean, however, that now we're going to have a dangerous turn. So first things first, this is the final turn where everyone gets an automatic point of terror, so done that, that's done. Dr. Grange might just take one for the team, while Cat rushes to the hut to try and find the keys, because I don't think she can help her. Neither Dr. Grange nor Cat have any weapons of any type. That's not their thing. Dr. Grange is about healing people in light and like taking away their stress and stuff, and Cat is all about doing searches and skateboarding away from people. So she's going to do that. She is going to skateboard twice, so let's just roll to see if she's going to trip on her second move now. She's got 3 fright on her, she's fine. She can move 10, that's going to take her right to the door of the cabin just out of your line of sight. So if I just turn ever so slightly, and then there's a tree in the way, as always. But it is going to get her up the stair into the door. So she is going to be at the door to the cabin. We shall remove the roof of the cabin so you can see what she's up to next turn. First of all, though, jump scare for entering the cabin area. That's a 3. Let's just quickly check what that is. Flickering light. Flip all light tokens within 12. Not a problem. Dr. Grange... I'm going to need to think about what she's doing, honestly. Alright, Dr. Grange is going to stumble away from the killer, so she goes 2 inches. Does she trip? She does not. What is her awareness, actually? Awareness 10. Although, cause that's weird, because the stumble away says make an awareness check. Surely it would be a fright check, but actually if it's an awareness check, she did fail it. Oh no. Well, that means... Whoop! She trips, and she also takes 1 injury from tripping. And she's not going to heal her bleeding. Well, actually she could. It's a long action, I think. Let's check that, because that's her 4th injury of 10 she can take. Long action. Can you get rid of your own bleeding? We had this before, but I don't remember what we did. Can remove 2 injury tokens if you take a breath. That's what she's going to do. She's going to take a breath after stumbling away, which presumably you're allowed to do on the floor, to remove 2 injuries from herself, because she's about to get cut again when it goes round to the next turn. Still got Seth and Ranger Sandy to do something with though, and Ranger Sandy just going to put a terror point on her, or fright point, on her card now, because she's starting well with it. Actually, so is Seth. They're both within 4 of the other fright token. Oh, as a matter of note, here is where Cat ended up. There is a door, but this is a room in which the keys may be. She'll have to break down the door though to get in and look for them. So up at the other end of the table where things are peachy keen, let's go with Ranger Sandy. She is going to double move. Let's see if she's going to trip. What is that? Is that 6? She trips. She gets to complete her other move though. And then she's going to fall on her face right at the door to the cabin. Has she been drinking? Is she a drunk? And then Seth is going to... You know, he's going to go round the pond because he's going to be so slow if he walks through the pond. You have to half your movement. So, there and there. Oh, also Ranger Sandy would have to jump scare for reaching the cabin. A 7 on the jump scare is... Oh good, she gained 1 more point of terror. Terror is actually becoming a very large issue for them. That's my turn. So back round to, what, turn 4 now. So on turn 4, it's on a 4+ that the only other fright token on the map will do something. Sorry, Dr. Grange. And it is, so what's it doing? Oh, just realised you can't see that, but it was an 8. And that is... It's here, but he's already here. So let's see, if the killer is already conjured, check to see if it's stalking or enraged. The killer's already revealed, roll... hang on, if the result is equal to or less than the killer's current injuries, the killer is stalking. Okay, so it might disappear. So roll a d10, if the result is equal to or less than his injuries, he disappears. But he has no injuries, so you can't roll equal to or less than 0 on a d10. So I guess he just gets enraged. If the roll is greater than the number of injuries, yep, the killer's, or if the killer has taken not a single point of damage, the killer becomes enraged this turn. An enraged killer's next attack results in a critical on a 1, 2, or a 3 instead of just a 1. The killer can only have 1 enraged token. So the fright token up there isn't doing anything. The killer's obviously going to make it into Dr. Grange. She's the closest person. Although if he's going to target the people with the least terror every time, then he would go after... No, Dr. Grange or Cat are still equal for the lowest, unfortunately, so Dr. Grange is in a world of hurt because the killer is walking up there. He would have had bonus because she's fallen over. Does he hit her? He knocks the campfire. That's a 6, so thankfully not a crit, but he does hit her for 3 more damage, which puts her at a total of, thanks to her healing herself, what are we at, 5, so she's at half health. He doesn't do his other attack because no one else is around, but once again Dr. Grange is just getting beaten up and murderized. So Cat's turn is going to be super simple. She's going to try and kick it in, which is what you do to doors that are locked. It's a quick action, so she can try it twice in a turn, and it's a skill check on your combat skill, but with a +4 modifier, i.e. it's harder to roll equal to or under than your combat, especially when your combat is only 8. So I'll try and roll this where you can see it. This is the first check, and that is not a 19. What is that? That is a 3. So actually, if you want to roll equal to or under, that means she's got it, right? Yeah, because it's a +4 modifier that puts it at a 7. Her combat modifier is 8, her skill, so she actually does successfully kick in the door, which means her other action is she's just gonna move inside. Unfortunately, the door in this building doesn't actually open, but she's in the building, which means that she can do a search next turn, and she might even be, I think there's rules in the game for jumping out a window, which might be the quick way for her to get to the rescue car, because it's on the far side of that cabin, if she's, selfish and just wants to escape herself. I guess we'll see. Dr. Grange, wake up now. She's going to stand up and walk away. Does she trip? That doesn't seem good. Her awareness is, you're gonna die. She immediately trips again and takes one more injury. That's her up to 6. Take one for the team, Dr. Grange. So the other two over here, Seth is getting another point of fright for being next to that token, which puts him at 6 fright. So he's actually over his limit of 4, which means that his skill checks are even worse by 2. Ranger Sandy's still fine though, because she's exactly on her fright amount and she's out of range of it. She's going to stand up, walk to the door. Unfortunately, she can't do anything with it this turn. Seth is just going to move 3, kind of following her, and then he's going to take a breath to remove 1 fright, which puts him still 1 away from his cap, unfortunately. Oh, he could use his own light, actually. Yeah, he'll use his flashlight, so might as well just use the one from the car, because the car isn't doing anything. He's illuminating himself, so the killer can't go after him, for 1, and also removes another point of fright for doing that. So he'll do that to protect himself while Ranger Sandy batters on the door in her drunken state. But that's my turn. So turn 5, there's still only 1 fright token. It activates on a 3+. You better believe it's doing something. What's it doing? It is a 6. That's moving towards Seth, I believe. Yep. I think it gets stopped by the light. So it'll stop there, although it's still close enough to generate some terror on him. The more important thing happens now though, because our killer is going to once again go after Dr. Grange. So there's not really a point in rolling. He's definitely going to make it enter because of the bonus for how scared she is, and because she's fallen over again, so he will not let her go, because she still has the joint lowest fright on the table. So, combat of 15. He actually missed, unbelievably. Actually, does he get a bonus because she's on the ground? If it's a 2 bonus, then that's just enough that he did it. Let's see. Character skill tests are -2 for each point of terror above their value. Nope. Killer adds +1 to their combat skill for each point of terror on the targets. So that would have been +3. So it would actually come down to 14. So yeah, he hit her for 3. I think I might have missed 1 point of damage on her as well for her being bleeding, but I don't remember for sure, unfortunately. That puts her at 2, 4, 6, 8, 9. She's 1 away from dying. I think she might just die to blood loss if she doesn't stop the bleeding. And I don't think she can stop the bleeding. I think you need another person to stop it. So Dr. Grange might be about to just succumb to her injuries, and in true Friday the 13th fashion, just drop her face into the fire, and then Jason will stand on the back of her head. It's a kill in the video game if you haven't played it. So as we start my turn, I was looking at the rules for bleeding, and it does say if you do the let me look at it action, you remove bleed, but it specifies it has to be another character doing it. It doesn't, if you use it on yourself, it does not get rid of bleeding. That might be an oversight, but it definitely specifies if another character. So Dr. Grange, she's going to stand up, she's going to try and hobble away, she's bleeding from every orifice. She didn't fall, but she is going to anyway because she's bleeding. So she falls face first into the fire, screams, and dies. So she is done. So this is the big one. This is the super important one. Cat is going to do a search, but not a search action within the traditional rules of the game. As I said from the start, there's 2 cabins on the map. We're going to roll a d6. If it's a 4, 5, or a 6, she has found the keys and they can escape in the car if they all get there. If she doesn't find them, they're automatically in the other cabin, but Seth or Ranger Sandy still need to 1 break in and then 2 do a search action to actually find them within the cabin. They're just definitely there. So let's just roll here. It is a 4, so she did in fact find the keys. So that means all Seth and Ranger Sandy actually need to do is run for their lives before the killer gets them. She has 1 more action left. I'm going to look into the rules for jumping out windows. Alright, as far as I can tell, to break down a window is exactly the same as a door. It's a +4 modifier to the roll. So it would be a 9 plus 4 is 13, so she did not successfully break down the door. Does she have a luck? She does have luck. I'll use a luck token. That's even worse, so never mind. Her turn is done. Well, they've heard on the radio, oh, so that light should have been flipped off, but either way Seth's going to move. Anyway, they've heard on the radio, hey, we've got the keys, get to the car, so that's exactly what Seth's going to do. His asthmatic bottom is going to run down to there. That's as far as he can get. Does he trip? And then he'll need to do a jump scare as well. Does he trip? So I'm knocking everything out of the way. The answer is no, he does not trip. But the jump scare, because the killer can teleport. That was a 7. Which is still not on camera, sorry. 7, which is a jump scare. Character gains 1 terror point. That's him back up to 5. That kind of is an okay thing because that means he's not the killer's target. Ranger Sandy, she is just going to move her 8 out of the cabin in which she's in, which is a little awkward. And basically puts her right down there next to Seth. Does she trip? She's got 5 terror. 10 is good enough, so she does not. And that's my turn. We're just trying to get out now. So from turn 6 onwards, fright tokens always activate. So what's the one going to do? That's a 10, which would conjure a killer, so he's enraged again, I believe. Just double check real quick. Yep. So he still hasn't been wounded, so he is indeed really, really annoyed. Now his target is the person with the lowest fright, which currently is Cat. So he's going to ignore Ranger Sandy and Seth running there, and he's going to head towards the cabin she's in with the keys. If she can't get out of there, out a window, she could have accidentally just trapped herself. How far is he moving? 3 inches plus the terror she has on her of 3. Does that give him 2? No, that gives him an extra 3. So he only moves 6 this turn. Oh, actually, you know what? He killed someone. No, wait, he didn't. Because normally when the killer kills someone, they save the moment and disappear for a turn. But he didn't kill Dr. Grange. Dr. Grange bled out. So I don't think that triggers savor the moment or savor the kill. So I think that's correct. Because he didn't kill her. He wounded her and then she bled out, but he didn't strike the blow. That might be wrong, but it's more fun this way. Oh, a killer tree just attacked the table. It's more fun this way, and more dangerous if he's chasing us this close. Well, with the killer on the left of the screen there, just bearing down on Cat, she needs to get out of there, so she's going to do Dead by Daylight style, jumping out the window. She's going to try and do it twice. She's got 1 luck token left. That is good enough, because that comes to a 7. She leaps out the window, just head first, like Ralph Wiggum through a window, and that does put her, we just move the camera there, right next to the rescue vehicle. Now, she could technically just leave the other 2 to die, but we're going to try and get them out. She is also going to have to jump scare because of everything around her. Let's just roll here as well. Oh no. That could be exceptionally bad. Let me just check. Jump scare, 9. Laugh it off, remove 1 terror point. No, it's in fact okay, because she was already the target. That just guarantees she's the target, so the other 2 should hopefully just be able to do a runner. So this is going to be exceptionally annoying to get line of sight on, but you can see Seth there. He's of course double moving, which gives him a mighty 6 inches, 5, 6. Puts him down the side of this cabin here. He's going to roll for a jump scare. That is a 5, which I think is on camera. Jump scare. I should have kept it on the page. Where's my jump scares? There it is. A 5. Tap on the shoulder. Place the closest... Oh, that's really good. Ranger Sandy teleports next to Seth. It's like, hey buddy, thanks for that. And then she's just gonna... Oh, does he trip? Did I roll for that? Does he trip? He did trip. I think he'd still do the jump scare as is, but Seth has fallen on his face. Not another one where Seth dies while everyone else... Well, I guess not everyone else, because rip Dr. Grange, but... Ranger Sandy is moving into the light of the car headlights just down there. She still has to check if she trips, which will roll here. She does not. And they're safe. Seth, however, is not, but well, actually, it kind of is, because he's not the target. But we are going to do one more turn regardless. So as we begin turn 7, I believe, we don't really need to roll for the fright token because that doesn't matter. What matters though is the killer phase, because no one can currently draw line of sight to the killer. He isn't in combat with anyone, which means that move the killer kicks in. Is that what it's called? Let's see. No, place the killer. At the start of the killer phase, place the killer following his MO if, and then it's point number 3, no characters can draw line of sight to the killer and the killer is not in base to base with the character. I guess technically because Dr. Grange was constantly stumbling away from him, she wasn't looking at him, but I count that as him and her seeing each other because she's getting murdered by him. In this case though, he disappears from the table, and according to his MO, he appears. I actually placed him a little bit too close when he first appeared. I think he's meant to be 8 out. I thought it was 6. Oh no, it is 6. Place the killer so that it's 6 inches away from the character with the lowest terror points and behind a piece of terrain if possible. In the case of a tie, players may choose. When the killer moves, all characters that can see him gain 1 terror. So let's see. Unfortunately, we'll just move in Vero here. Right down here, he is materializing next to Cat, just out of sight. He was stealing some shirts, and he's right there. And we still get his turn because that's the start of the killer phase. So now he moves. And he's moving 3 plus 2 to move 5. Is that enough to attack her? Yep. Hello, you thought you were safe, but you're not quite safe yet. This is exceptionally awkward to film down here, but that's okay. Where is the attack die? Does he strike her? Yes, he does. Doesn't crit, thankfully. Has a siren go by. Somebody called the cops on him. So that's 3 injuries and she's now bleeding, but she's not in any super danger of dying. Seth just needs to get to us so we can escape. Various blades would kick in though, I think. Is Ranger Sandy within 2? Probably not. No. She's fine. So that's his turn over. I only need to do something with Seth. He needs to stand up and not... Well, he can stand up and then he can only move 3. He actually can't get out this turn, can he? He definitely can't because he's got to stand up. Which would mean we need to weather the blows from the killer for 1 more turn. Oh dear. So after standing up, that's as close as Seth can get this turn, which is not close enough to trigger the end condition for them getting in the car and escaping. Which means we do have to do 1 more turn. I could technically try and move Cat away from the killer, like 2 inches, see if she trips, etc. But I'm not going to. We're just going to roll round. Well, actually, I guess Ranger Sandy could take a shot at him. At this point, though, there's no way we can kill him. We might as well go for the escape rather than the final girl thing. Plus, if Cat dies, the keys would have to be picked up. So we're just going to roll round to the killer phase, and Jason is going to get another smack at Cat here. She got crit. Is a crit double damage? Oh, even if it is double damage, she would still live on 1 health. Because, actually no, she wouldn't, because she would activate and unactivate. She's bleeding. Oh, that's what Ranger Sandy could do. She could go there and cure her bleeding by using let me take a look at that. It would mean that Ranger Sandy now gets smacked by various blades. That also wouldn't kill her. So they're okay. And then Seth, let's see if he falls over. Even if he falls over, 1 move is still enough that he's close enough that we can get out. But I'm just curious if he falls on his face like last time. How much terror is he? No, he's fine. He's fine. Actually, I keep forgetting if it's higher, it's worse or lower when you're doing a trip check. Let's check. He rolled a 4. I want to know if he fell flat on his face, because that is funny. Tripping. When a character trips, they must spend... No, where's the bit about how you trip? Yeah, you roll a d20. If the result is equal to or less than their current terror points, they trip. Equal to or less. How many terror points does he have? 5. He was fine. He was totally fine. So, even though the killer is right there, the 3 survivors do barely get on. But poor Dr. Grange, she fell in the fire pit. So Jason had a bit of a better go of it this time, where he actually managed to kill someone instead of 90% of the time not appearing and appearing right at the end to basically wave goodbye to them. Although I think I did do some stuff wrong that last time. Probably did this time as well, but the nice thing about Don't Look Back is you can kind of adapt the roles to tell a story, and that's the nice appealing part of it. Dr. Grange has been turned into some nice cooked meat, and Jason is going to go back to his shack and enjoy that for the rest of his evening. So 3 people managed to get out. We didn't need to see the final girl stuff, but we'll have that in effect from this point going forwards for any future stories we play. If the sole survivor is a female, then we'll kick the roles in and see what happens. But for now though, 3 survivors, not too bad. Shame it was new model syndrome. The only person to die was one of the 2 new models on the table. But that's okay. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And until next time, ta-ta for now.